I'm Asger. You can ask me anything. Today I'm answering this question. Are public schools making us dumber? And in this video I'm going to present the best arguments for, and I'm going to just present probably just one argument against. Now, one of the popular arguments for this idea that public schools are making us dumber is that it's really not intended to create intelligent people that are able to think independently and see things from multiple angles. So the argument sometimes takes the form that schools were originally designed to keep us docile in some sense and to make us just competent enough so that we could manage factory worker jobs and understand the basic structure of society, but not competent enough to revolt against the societal power structure. I mean, this quickly sounds a little conspiratorial, right? But of course, we have to trace it back historically and see where did the first public schools actually happen. Now, I believe we can actually trace it all the way back to medieval Europe, where some local kings, in some cases, actually decided to give the average person living in the country or the area that they controlled a chance to be well educated. Other people believe that the system that we use right now can more or less be traced back to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Some places in Germany, for instance, where the factory workers could just swing by the local school, have their kids placed there, and their kids would then more or less be schooled so they would be able to take over from their parents when they became of age. I'm not going to go into an elaborate historical discussion of this, but I think most people support the idea that everybody should have some basic level of education. The question is, of course, how do we accomplish that? How do we create that system in a fair way? And perhaps most importantly, how do we create a system in which kids actually learn something valuable? Other pieces of common criticism is that schools follow canon curricula, meaning they have a list of essential works and theories that they are teaching all kids, which, so the theory goes at least, makes it so that everybody sort of just learns the same things. And of course, one of the imagined pitfalls here is that it can lead to conformity of thought. And some people also like to stress that we should teach kids how to think, not what to think. This is something that I pretty much agree with, probably this last piece of criticism here. But now I'm gonna try and be the devil's advocate. Have you ever taken a job that was below your pay grade and your educational level? If the answer is yes, did you have to sit through training that you immediately understood and that was clearly designed for the lowest common denominator? If that's the case, did it in fact make you dumber? Did it make you dumber that you had to sit through training that you got a grasp of fairly quickly? I'm gonna make a claim here. The problem isn't our schools. It is our families, the homes in which we bring up our kids. We sit around in our homes and assume that teaching the kids, that's the job of the schools. It's not my job, it's the job of the school. And this goes for all academic disciplines: math, literature, science, history, biology, etc. But not just academic stuff, also social interactions, how to deal with other people, how to interact with them in a constructive manner, how to have a respectful debate with someone you disagree with. Not we, but most people, this is my claim, I realize this is an assertion I'm making right now, but most people seem to be of the understanding that this is the job of our schools. But isn't that really your job as a parent? I mean, the teachers and staff in our schools, they are paid, and they are not paid handsomely even. They are paid to do a certain job. Their motivation cannot be assumed to go beyond the next paycheck. But I think it's fair to say that your motivation as a parent can be assumed and should probably go way beyond any paycheck. The problem, the way I see it, is that we live in this sort of victim culture, or at least a general culture that somehow makes parents forget that it is their responsibility, and at the end of the day, their responsibility alone to educate their children. This may sound like a radical claim to you, but I think I can actually prove it more or less with this little thought experiment. I'm going to describe 2 schools to you right now, and I want you to decide which of them you would rather send your kid to. Number 1, a school where all the kids were raised to feel like the center of the universe, where they have no respect for authorities or their peers, and where they always hold their ground whenever they encounter a position that goes against their preconceived ideas of how the world works. Where they hold their ground no matter what anyone says. But also where the teachers are great and the curricula reflected what is currently our best knowledge of things and constantly updated, and the academic standards were just really high. Or number 2, would you rather send your kids to this school? A school with mediocre teachers, with cliche-written curricula and repetition-based learning, but where all the kids who go to the school were already raised as philosopher kings before they even started attending the school. I would certainly choose option number 2. And this is where I draw the parallel to the job training I talked about a minute ago. Being in a setting with an academically poor standard doesn't actually make you dumber. It can actually make you smarter if the other people in that setting bring a sound way of thinking to the table. So I don't think actually, in the perfect world, our schools would teach kids how to think, not what to think. But the hack is really simple. The hack is just that you teach your kids how to think and not what to think. But of course, before that can even happen, you need to teach yourself how to think, not what to think. That's one of the things I'm really hoping to accomplish with this channel, to teach myself how to think and to take you guys along for the ride. Now, I would definitely choose school number 2, but of course, if you prefer to continue with your victim mentality and even perhaps project it onto your kids, as most people do, from my vantage point at least, by all means, carry on. Teach your kids how to think, not what to think, and it's not gonna matter a whole lot how the academic standards of their schools are. So just to sum up and answer the question real quick, to some degree, yes, I think public schools are making kids dumber, but that's only because public schools are a reflection of the society in which they're based. So I don't actually think that the schools are making anyone dumber. I think the parents are, and because we live in an age of victim mentality, they're pushing this responsibility onto the schools. So that's the short answer to the question, and I'm Asger. You can ask me anything. Don't hesitate to do so in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. And thanks for watching. You'll see me again tomorrow. Have a good one. Cheers.